Hello, I'm Sandra Nichols, and we're celebrating San Antonio's tricentennial, 300 Voices in 300 Days on TAN TV. And I have the pleasure of having with me today Mr. Joaquinn Arch, who will share his life, his story, and his contributions to the city of San Antonio. So, Mr. Arch, tell me a little bit about yourself. Where were you born?
I was born in Inglewood, California, in the 70s. So my mom and dad moved out there to live that California life.
And how was that?
I don't remember very well. I moved back here when I was 1. My grandmother came and got me, and I was raised here by my grandmother, and my mom and dad stayed in LA for another year.
Oh, okay. Well, where did you go to school here?
I went to Wheatley Middle School, the great Wheatley Middle School.
Yeah.
And then transitioned from there to St. Gerard's High School.
Okay. So tell me a little bit, did you grow up with siblings or?
No, actually I grew up with an older cousin. So it was me and him, my grandmother and my grandfather. Grew up right here on the east side of San Antonio.
Oh, wonderful. So a hometown young man.
I am. I spent a few years in Houston after I graduated from Prairie View A&M.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know many people who graduated from that school, and so many all over the state of Texas. I'm from Texas, and so very familiar. So, have you lived in San Antonio? You came back after college, and you've
I
been here?
stayed in Houston for 6 years. I was an athlete, so I played basketball at Prairie View. So I went around the world following my basketball dreams for a little while, and then decided to go in to start pursuing my profession, and I started that in Houston.
So, well, tell me, what is your profession? What do you do now?
Well, I have many hats. So a lot of my upbringing have brought me to where I am today. Currently, we manage and run and operate a nonprofit by the name of Youth Building for the Future. Me and a couple of my childhood friends started this organization to mentor and train athletes because we saw that there was a lack of athletes being able to transition from high school to college. And so we started that in '99. And we're still kicking strong today. And that's my passion. My full-time is straight line management. Me and my wife have a construction company. I'm the business developer. She's the president and owner. And we've been in that business for 8 years. So
in the construction business?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about that, your construction company.
Oh, so it was birthed out of, like I said, a lot of my professions and my college degrees have taken me into different walks. And so I was working at City Hall under Sheila McNeil, and I got an opportunity to be the president of Black Contractors Association. And so there I was able to use my degree in community development to kind of springboard that organization and start it off and try to get contractors into different spaces that they hadn't been into before. And so from that position, my wife was introduced into an opportunity to work at the city. And then she had went to an interview at Judson High School when they were building a new high school. Yes. And they weren't looking for an employee, they were looking for a company. So our company was birthed over a weekend.
Wow. And that's the high school Wagner?
No, Judson High School.
So it's Judson, the actual,
Judson,
the main
Judson
campus,
Stadium,
Judson
High School. Yes. So she was the project manager of that project.
Oh, wonderful.
And so from there we took...
I'm very familiar with that area.
So from there we took off running. And now we do development in the area. We came back and started doing infill projects to get ahead of growth from downtown towards the east side.
And so have you all been involved in a lot of projects then out this way? Or?
We have. We're actually doing a lot of current street and road projects. We worked at the Alamo Dome on that project. We worked at the AT&T Center as a PM with Turner Construction for the county, and we were the county's rep to make sure that the construction ran smoothly.
Well, do you all have a large team of employees? Or
we do. We're at about 12 right now. Employees and about a pool of about 100 or so subcontractors. And we're very actively involved in bringing back the Black Contractors Organization. We're at a year now, and we've grown to about 75 members.
That's awesome. That's an awesome accomplishment then for both you and your wife.
Yeah.
Do you all have children? Or?
We do. I have two boys, two young boys. I started late. So
How old are they?
9 and 5.
Oh, okay. Those are good fun ages.
They are.
Yeah.
They're busy ages, I tell you that, because they're athletes. So 3 or 4 days a week, maybe 5, we're at a gym or at a field.
That's good.
Well, I'm
Keep
not in
them
the
busy.
Right.
Keep them busy. And so with the program where you were helping athletes, so you're still doing that,
Yes.
helping athletes transition from high school into college.
And then,
Tell me a little bit about that.
what we do is make sure that a lot of single parents don't know the process on what it takes, and a lot of the athletes don't even know the rigorous workout regimen that you have to be on if you really want to be a collegiate athlete. And then not to mention that, a pro athlete, a lot of kids aspire to be a pro. So we tell them if you fall short from that, at least you got to play in college. Our organization has been able to be a part of over 20 young men's lives that are playing professionally and still play professionally.
So do you all, through that, promote education?
We do.
As like the number one goal, or how does that work?
I'll be honest with you. We promote it as a tool.
Okay.
So using what you've been blessed with to get a free education.
Absolutely.
And using that in turn to figure out what your true passion is, because that's where we fall short a lot of times, is we're pushing education, and nobody's talking about entrepreneurship. Nobody's talking about what do you love to do, and figure out how you can get paid at doing that. And so we try to tap into that and invest in, exposing them to real estate, exposing our youth to the stock market, just non-traditional things that we haven't been accustomed to or afforded the opportunity to learn about.
Well, how do you find these young men and women, or are they mostly young men?
No, actually we have a lot of females in our program as well. I like to say God sends them to us because until this year, we hadn't ever marketed. It was, if you knew, you kind of came to us. If somebody told you, then that's what it was. And we're honest with people. We tell them, if you're not serious, this is not the right program for you. Because it's during the summers, a workout day might be 5 to 7 hours. And that's pool, weights, boxing, and football workouts, speed and agility. So it's not just basketball we work on.
So when they're doing all the workouts, do you have like one facility that you use, or they in various facilities?
We get in where we fit in.
Okay.
We started off at the Eastside Boys and Girls Club in the 90s, and then now we work out of Antioch Sports Complex, and out of still back at the Eastside Boys and Girls Club. One of the young men that came through our program is now the executive director there. So it's funny how the world comes back around, and people that we've kind of been through our program are in position of power now, and we don't have to beg as much.
Yeah, what an impact you're making then. So tell me, what has been your biggest contribution to the city of San Antonio?
I think spearheading some of the growth and development on the east side. We took an old grocery store and revitalized it. So it was the first revitalization effort on New Braunfels Street. And we're gearing up for number 2 right now. I have to keep that under wraps because we haven't finalized those contracts. And we are opening up our new office on Commerce Street here in the next couple of months. And so we're homegrown. We want to make sure that the history stays, the stories remain, and that people understand what it used to be, it can be again.
So what are some other projects that you're involved in, just on a personal level? I mean, I know you volunteer a lot and you have some organizations that you're a part of. What are some other things that you do?
Man,
you sound like you're really
I travel.
busy.
I'm very busy. So
Yes.
we travel when we can. We try to travel at least 2 or 3 times out of the year. Make sure that we get away and enjoy some family time, because we drag our kids around to our functions. So, you know, really not a lot of free time outside of the organizations that we belong to that support our business.
Right.
So, you know, we're members of the Hispanic Chamber, again, the African American Chamber, NAACP. Wife is very heavily involved with that. Bexar County Workforce Development, she's on that board. I sit on some advisory boards for SAAACAM. I help plan the event that they do every year for their big fundraiser.
Wow, you
And
are busy. Both
yeah.
of you are very busy.
Yeah.
We have to get her on here and speak with her as well.
You do.
What do you most like about the city of San Antonio?
I like it's a big city in a small town. That's why I like to explain San Antonio. It's a perfect place to raise a family. My wife's from Houston, so we had the opportunity to be in Houston, but here in San Antonio, it's not as much competition.
Yes, it's a great place to grow a business.
It is. It is.
And
so we won't be going anywhere for a while.
This is home for you. You're here and you're staying.
This is home base. This is home base.
Well, why do you feel it's important as an African American to tell your own story?
Because we know it better. I grew up in a San Antonio that was, the east side of San Antonio, that was upper middle class. I didn't grow up necessarily in poverty. My grandmother was a nurse. My grandfather was a truck driver. Down the street, the councilman lived next door. You know, the dentist's office was on East Houston. We didn't go outside of our community for much. The grocery store was black, Handy Andy. I mean,
Handy Andy.
That's the San Antonio I grew up in, and you know, being able to ride your bike freely, like we used to ride our bikes to Brackenridge Park and all the way up to Mercurius and North Star. Like it wasn't dangerous. I mean, the wheelie course was what the wheelie course was, but if you didn't go looking for anything, then you weren't gonna find it.
Right. Yeah, that you had a whole span. Yeah, that's very interesting then. That in times have changed, of course.
They have changed.
Yeah, so I'm sure with your children, you keep a watchful eye. You're very involved with them athletically.
I do. And we make sure that they understand and know where they come from. Like during the summers, they go to the East Side Boys and Girls Club. They go to school out in Stone Oak, but we live on the East Side. We're here 10, 12 hours a day. On the weekends, I'm here because we're doing a lot of smaller home renovation projects to make sure that we help build the infield projects from a private standpoint and not just sit around and wait for public dollars to do what we should be doing.
Now, tell me, who has been most impactful in your life?
I have a long list.
A long list?
I do. So I grew up a lot in the Davis Scott YMCA. So we had several mentors, Kirk Brown, Nathaniel Davis, Mr. Shannon, all of my teachers. Like I went to Tiny Elementary, and those teachers really care. Like they'll call your parents directly. They weren't sending a note. They were calling that house phone.
They had a direct line to them.
And then, you know, in middle school, our coaches, again, our teachers, they look like us. I've been fortunate. I've had coaches and teachers that have looked like me all the way up through, even in college. And fortunate to go to HBCU and get to do what I love and be a part of history.
Wow, that's a great school, by the way. And so do you get to go back to events there?
I do. Hadn't been to homecoming in a while because my kids play sports. So on the weekends, it kind of bumps into that sometimes. But I blocked it off this year. I said I was going to go no matter what. And we might miss a game.
Yes, wow.
So they can experience it. We've taken them to one homecoming, and they had a great time. But I keep in touch with a lot of my teammates and friends from college. We're all still close. And fortunately for me, even my guys I grew up with, they're doing well. And my college friends, they're doing well.
And you're doing very well here in the city and making quite a contribution to the city of San Antonio. And it's really interesting to hear your story and how you're helping, you know, young men and young women and kind of exposing them to some things that they probably would not get exposed to, you know, had they not met you and the team of people that you work with.
And we try to impart what was imparted in us. And people ask me all the time, why do you do what you do? So somebody did it for me. And they didn't sugarcoat it. They told me exactly how it was going to be, how it could be. And if you go left, this is what happens. And if you go right, and, you know, the signs are all around you. You have to make a choice on what you want to do with your life and what you choose to do. And, you know, there's no substitute for hard work. And that's one of the main things that we impart in the kids is if you want to be successful and great, you have to do more than other people are willing to do because it's not going to be easy.
That's very good advice, for not just young people, I think for all people.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Joaquinn Arch, we've heard it from you, just your contributions to the city of San Antonio, and I want to thank you for everything that you and your family are doing to make this city a better place to live.
Yeah.
And so, again, I'm Sandra Nichols, and we're celebrating San Antonio's tricentennial, 300 Voices in 300 Days on TAN TV.